everyone, it's Jess, and we are here to spend a day indoors discussing episode 2 of the Pitt season 2. I thought it was a great episode. I love that we're trying to get a little more, obviously, the Pitt, everything's just condensed in an hour, but we're starting to get a little more with our characters, with the relationships between them, some old and some new. We'll get into that in a little bit, because we got a little something, and I was like, what's going on here? But we're definitely gonna get into that. I'm a little more awake today than last week. I was a little tired. So I finished that recording and I was like, what did I just say? Another world. But we're here. And we're a little late. My bad. I had some plans for my friend's birthday. My apologies. But we're here now. So. I don't even know where to begin because there's so much to say about so many things. I think the biggest thing I kind of want to touch on is the continuous clashing of Robby and Dr. Al-Hashimi. I am so curious to see this play out through the rest of the season because I genuinely don't know how. I don't see them compromising. I don't see Robby giving in. I don't see Dr. Al-Hashimi giving in. But how do they compromise? They are just so both clearly very, headstrong and, my way is the correct way. Where do we go from here? Because they are just so, well, this is how I do it, and this is how I do it, and not meshing. How will they mesh? Literally beats me. Robby, oh god, I know Gloria was so happy when Dr. Hashimi came in for that interview. She said, thank God, finally. She is all about the stats and the numbers, and I know Robby is definitely more focused on, obviously, the actual patient care itself, and teaching. And they have very different teaching manners as well. I mean, obviously, Dr. Hashimi is teaching, but her style is more, I'm telling you, and these are the steps you should know. While Robby is more focused on, okay, you already know this information, you tell me the step. How you have it up here, give it to tell me. Put it right here. And Dr. Al-Hashimi is like, it's up there, but I'm going to tell you what it is, and you're like, oh yes, I do know this. I could be explaining that wrong. Listen, do I look studious? No. But they are very different people. Very different. I think, especially with this AI stupid app. Oh my god. I hate it. Listen, I do like Dr. Al-Hashimi. I do like her. I do think she's approaching this kind of wrong. I don't know if it's the greatest idea. It's like, you're the first day in. You don't know any of these people. You don't know how this specific hospital and ED functions. You, don't understand, their methods, their flow, how they work. Especially when they're dealing with Alan Billings, the man who had the open dislocation from the pallet falling on his arm. And she's like, oh, just get the ortho consult and they'll come. And they're like, that's not happening. Ortho does not move quick. Ortho will be here next week if we call them. You have to get a grasp on the location you're at. That will help you better understand how to apply changes that you want to make, how to make sure the changes are well received. You can't walk in on the first day and be like, hi, nice to meet you, I'm changing everything. Ooh, here's the bagels. Listen, I love a bagel, but I don't need somebody I don't know coming in and be like, I'm gonna change everything about your workspace. Well, actually, because she's not. Oh, I don't know if she's a permanent. She's not there. She's only there for Robby's 3-month sabbatical. So you're gonna change everything for 3 months. That's a choice. I think definitely, you gotta ease them into it. You can't just be like, I'm gonna do all this. Make some suggestions. How about today we start using the patient passport? How about today I show you my stupid ass AI app? How about today we worry about the patient satisfaction scores and we talk about how we can do some, obviously I know the ED is too busy for everybody to have like a sit down meeting about this. Like there's no time for that, unfortunately. Because I feel like that definitely would be a better way to go about things. Just have everybody like sit down and like have a conversation of like, here are the changes I want to make. Robby says that you guys are used to like, this is how you do things. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? How do we want to implement things? But this is not a place you can have a sit down meeting. This is like passing here and there, like, oh, by the way, we're doing this and we're doing this, and okay, this is happening and this is here. You know what I mean? It's not like a place you can just have a calm moment to talk. Unless you barricade the doors and don't let anybody in, but I don't think they would like that, because then you're not treating patients and the satisfaction scores will go down. Whatever. Now, I gotta talk about this stupid AI app. Oh my god, I hate it. I don't like it. Listen, this page, let me tell you right now, page, channel, all of it, get AI out of here. No. Goodbye. Don't want it. This is a proud anti-AI page. I don't care about it. Don't talk to me about it. It's stupid. It's destroying the planet. It's making people so lazy, and I don't care. We don't need it. I don't care about your AI silly video picture, your shitty AI art, your AI little story, your AI little therapy chatbot. I don't care. I don't care. So I don't. Can you believe I'm not a fan of this AI app charting thing? I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, obviously, Dr. Al-Hashimi says to Linda Stevens, the patient that they're using, that she shows the med students and Javadi and Whitaker the app on. Oh, it's totally confidential. You know, this doesn't even say on my phone. Da da da. I'm not trusting that. You think I trust some AI tech company to delete and keep no records of my personal medical information? No. I don't trust that for the slightest. And what would they do if a patient was like, oh, I'm not comfortable with using it? Would they be like, okay, never mind, and you still have to chart anyways? The whole point is this is, oh, you don't have to spend so much time charting. It'll make things so much faster. Have they considered that efficiency is not the end-all be-all of quality? Just because you're doing more of something doesn't mean you're doing it well. Sure, you're spending less time charting, and you're getting to like technically see more patients faster. Great, but clearly the AI isn't perfect. Dr. Al-Hashimi says it herself, literally. And when they're going over the transcripts of Linda's, the conversations and the treatment they just did, you know what I mean? The medication is wrong. Whitaker's like, that's the wrong medication. Did they even take the right medication down? And it's like not even something that's close to it. It's like her medication, I forget the actual medication name because I don't know it was like one that helps her sleep, and then the one that was for psychosis. Very different. If you don't catch that it totally changes how any hospital will treat you. The medications they'll give you, their treatment, like how they'll just treat you as a person. They're like, oh, she got psychosis. Oh, maybe she needs like a mental. Like it totally changed everything. So just to be like, oh yeah, sometimes it's wrong. That's a big wrong thing. It's not like, oh, it spelled her name wrong. It's, oh, it gave the wrong medication for a totally different condition. That's so dangerous and like risky. And she's like, oh, you have to check it anyways. So then you're still spending time charting because now you have to proofread the stupid bot that doesn't know what it's doing. And then this is also a problem that I was worried about. Okay, so let's say you're using the AI app. Less charting. You're getting through patients faster. The hospital, as we already know, has been and probably will continue to be understaffed. But the higher-ups, who are not in the department the entire time, are just seeing the numbers. They're saying, oh, this small crew we have is getting through way more patients. Then now they have this app, now they're able to get through way more people, treat more people, get the numbers out quicker, reduce waiting times. Great. We don't need to hire more people now because they can do it. You see, well, that's a problem because now you don't have as much help as the help that you actually need. because now you're burning through these people because you're like, well, I have to do this. I'm not going to chart. You're going to spend more time. You're going to have to now catch up more. You know, and these doctors and the nurses and all the staff in the ED are going to start getting more burnt out, worn out. You can't just keep going. We're going to be as efficient as possible. This is not, literally Robby said, this is not Taco Bell. You can't just keep churning out the tacos. You gotta slow it down. You need the help. One person can't do it all. You know? For example, I don't obviously work in the medical field, but I have worked retail at the dollar store. I hate Dollar Tree, shout out. But they have, at least at my store, 2 people on staff at a time, 1 manager, 1 cashier. They're like, oh, you could still get it done. You could be efficient. You need to do 70 boxes of this, of stocking, and also clean the store, and also fill up balloons, and manage your paperwork, and all of these things in 6 hours. But people can do it, so you can do it. The numbers are there. No, statistically, you can do this. We did the math. The numbers say I can do that. In practicality, no, I cannot. You get burned out fast. You are worn down. You're exhausted. You dread coming to this place. You're physically, mentally, emotionally drained of trying to keep up. And numbers, sure, it'll say yeah. These small staff of doctors can see. Oh, I don't know what the number is. All of these patients in one day, now that they don't have to chart anymore and stop and go over what they did. And that also helps them better understand the patient because they're able to actually physically write down, we checked for this and we checked for that. It helps them remember things better because repeating, your words, thinking things over, actually doing the process helps you remember and learn and recognize, this is what I did. I can remember this for if we get another patient in the future that's showing signs like this and symptoms or has injuries like this. Or it can help you catch things that you may have missed and oh my goodness, I just realized this is signs of this and we're trying to figure it out and this is what it is. You know what I mean? That time is crucial. So God forbid we don't crank out people like it's Taco Bell. Like we're ringing dollar items and there's a line down the aisle and we have to get everybody out as fast as we can so we can go back to this and go back to here. Efficiency doesn't matter. The quality matters. And they gotta do less. I know the waiting times are long. Maybe, like I said, hire more people. But because they'll see the numbers with the stupid AI app and be like, they're seeing more people, they're not gonna hire them and they're gonna burn out. They're gonna burn out and crash. They're gonna crash. And then what happens in occasions of emergency? Pitt Fest. But they all gonna be like, okay, we just saw 100 and something people. We have to do all the charting for them now. Let me get my AI app. No. There is no time for that. It drives me nuts. People use this AI nonsense and they're like, it's so much better and it's efficient. No, it's not. Sure, on paper, you're doing things faster, but speed isn't the end-all be-all of things. If you can do something faster, but it's shittier and it makes things harder for you, for other people, you don't need it. You're just killing trees and draining water and destroying the planet for what? I got to see 2 more people in this hour versus 2 more people sitting in the waiting room for a little bit longer. God forbid. I feel like I'm ranting, but it drives me nuts. It's this is not useful. And honestly, if I was there as a patient, I'm like, you need an AI app to write stuff down about me? Aren't we having you can't type it as we're talking? I literally was in the emergency room a couple weeks ago. And as they're talking to me, they're typing, okay, it down. They have the charting thing with them. So they're inputting it at the same time. Just drag that shit with you. Get a card. Put it in they carry on iPads. Type it in as they're talking. There you go. You can see people faster that way. Type it in as you're talking. Okay, you have these symptoms. Okay, you have this. There you go. You don't need the AI app. Be like, okay, guys, this is gonna transcribe all of your information on my phone. No, at this point use a voice memo, bitch. HIPAA, hello, what are we doing? I'm that's like my biggest drawback with Dr. Al-Hashimi. This AI app and her being like, it's so good, it's 98% accurate, and all of these things is gonna make life so much easier. No, it's not. No, it's not. Maybe on paper it will, maybe for the higher people it will. Not for the actual people in the emergency department. That's my piece on that. I could probably talk about this and yell about this for like an hour because it drives me nuts. Like, corporate doesn't know better. You could be a corporate kiss ass all you want. It ain't. Not that I'm saying that's what she is. It's like the vibe. I'm like, the higher ups want these numbers and all these stats. Like, stats don't matter if you're not helping people and making your doctors' lives and efficient and jobs better. Okay, we gotta like, I'm getting like irritated. I gotta like cool it down because it's stressing me out. Oh my god. Jesus, I truly could talk about that all day because I can't get back into it. I can't. Oh my god. Okay. Let me go back to my original train of thought. With Dr. Al-Hashimi and Robby, I think you can also see their differences, like the differences with Mel. With when they have the conversation about her, like, obviously she's been very off. It's her deposition day. I can't say that word. Deposition. I hate wanting to go disposition. Deposition. And Robbie's like, oh yeah, people get sued all the time. Same thing, like, that's kind of like what Santos said last episode to her. She was like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. I've been sued 4 times. It happens. And Mel's like, oh, okay. Like, you can tell that Mel's like, oh, okay, it's normal. This is like a thing. And Dr. Al-Hashimi's like, I have never been sued. And I'm like, you're not, that's good for you, but you're not making her feel better. The correct thing is, well, I personally have not been sued, but like what she says later on, when they're treating another patient, I don't even want to talk about that scene yet. And she's like, oh yeah, like, like, I've never been sued, but I know, like, other doctors that have, many doctors. Like, she's like, just, like, that's what you say. You don't be like, well, I've never been sued. I'd be like, okay, congratulations. Would you like a cookie? Would you like a cookie? Like, make her feel, that's not gonna make her feel better. And clearly Mel's like, oh god. She starts like trying to, like, humming to kind of soothe herself down. She like runs out of the, like bolts out of the room. It's like, that's not helping. Just lie. Dan, be like, oh yeah, I was sued once. Lie. Just lie. Also, apparently I read online, because Dr. Al-Hashimi's from the VA, the VA doctors can't even really be sued. Apparently you have to, since they're under the government, you have to, like, sue the actual government themselves. So yeah, obviously you haven't been sued if you're part of the government facility. That may not be correct, but that's what I read that somewhere. So that's wrong, my bad. But yeah, if nobody can sue you personally and has to sue the entire government, yeah, I wonder why you've never been in a malpractice lawsuit. And then when they're treating the guy who was choking, what was his name? I literally wrote it down. The man who was choking. Why can't I find him? Barry Mitchells. There we go. I wrote his name down. I could not read my own handwriting for a second. They're arguing over using just ketamine versus and rocuronium. The rock. I'm gonna call it that. Rock. Ketamine and rock. Versus just ketamine. And she leaves when they use just ketamine. She's like, well, she's like, I've never been sued and I'm not trying to start today. What? Girl, he got broccoli in his throat. He's gonna sue you over broccoli? Because they didn't use the ketamine and rock? What? I was like, it's not that serious, girl. She's like, I don't need to be team lawsuit with you people. I'm like, damn, okay. and mind you, Robbie was correct. Like he was just joking, and she's like, "What if it's an unknown thing?" Which is fair. It could be, and you don't know what's going on with his throat. But he just was eating probably fine and was at a diner. He came from the diner joking. The assumption would be food. So I don't think we need to fully paralyze him and keep him intubated for an hour over like there was a piece of broccoli in your throat. That probably costs more money, like for your medical bills. So they had to put you under like intubation for an hour. That shit is expensive. I'd be like, just take it out. But yeah, I am so curious about what is gonna go down with these two. Robbie is still like avoiding like talking, like he still hasn't read the packet. I mean, obviously they're too busy just for him to sit there and read the packet. But he's like, oh, Robbie's being very avoidant today. He does not want to have any conversations. He's like, this is my last day and I'm trying to get out. I don't want to talk to nobody about anything. So Dr. Hashimi's like, can we talk about this? Can we talk about that? And he's like, well, actually, I have to go over here now. I have to go through this thing. I'm outside. There's a patient coming in. I gotta go. Very avoidant today, Robbie is. Robbie's like, I don't want any conflict. I want to get in and out of this place. Thank you very much. I am just so curious about them and where they're gonna go from here, because I literally don't know. I don't know. I don't know if maybe there's like hints about it. I said last week, I didn't watch the trailers. I've been trying to avoid a lot of the pre-show press, and I haven't even been watching like the coming up next week on the Pitt. Like I haven't been watching that either. I'm trying to go into this like blind. So maybe there's hints of like what's gonna go from here with them two, but I don't know how they're gonna compromise, because these two are just very in their ways. Very set, firm in their beliefs of how these ED should run. I don't know. I really don't know. I would love to. I'm curious if we're gonna get more thoughts from the other doctors as well, the nurses, the other staff, because we've only really gotten like kind of Robbie's perspective. I wonder if the others will even say anything, because obviously Dr. Al-Hashimi is an attending and they're below her. But, like, we don't really get anyone's opinions. They're all kind of like, oh, these patient passports? Like, what's that? Like, nobody's like, oh, this is stupid. I mean, they're kind of like, there's a little bit with the AI app with, the med students, Javadi, Whitaker. Like, there was a little bit there. But as a whole, I want to know more, like, what everyone else thinks. Maybe we'll get more of that coming soon. But yeah. Moving on from those freaks. So we got, I kind of want to talk about them because that was like a big chunk of like, we need to talk about them. I probably ranted about the AI app for like 10 minutes. My bad. But talking on the cases that we have continuing from last episode, we didn't get a ton with them. We got a little bit with, the baby. They, like, the test results are coming back normal. It has rhinovirus, which I had to Google. That's the cold. I was like, oh. I thought it was something more serious. Just the cold. And then they're trying to get the baby upstairs. Nobody will take the baby. You gotta do all these tests now on the baby. They're like, great. We also didn't get an explanation. I'm sure we will soon. But on why Dr. Al-Hashimi had, like, the 1,000-yard stare on the baby at the end of the last episode. Everybody got trauma in this damn place. Speaking of, changing the subject, I'll go back in a second. I like that they're having to speak to weekly trauma counselors. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm assuming that was implemented after Pitt Fest, which, thank God, these bitches need therapy. I'm so glad they're talking to somebody. Thank God. When they said that, like, when Robbie was talking to Santos and was like, oh, have you talked to the trauma counselor this week? And I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, thank God. Maybe that's why they're all more open to, like, talking about feelings. Like, obviously, like, with the conversation, like I already mentioned with Mel, Robbie, and Dr. Al-Hashimi, they were able to, like, he's like, what do you feel? How are you feeling about it? Like, I'm like, oh, we're talking about feelings. Wow. The bar is in hell. The bar is in hell with these people sometimes, especially Robbie. I'm like, ooh, drama. That drama was rooted in there, but now we're being more open this season. Look at that. Look what trauma counselors and therapy does. Opening up. And it's lovely. I'm glad we're getting there. I thought that was a good thing. I was like, yes. back to my original thing with the patients. Kylie, we also didn't get a lot of Kylie. They just ran, they got her blood work. We got a little bit with the social worker. Kiara is not there today. Which, okay, fine. We have a different social worker, Dylan. So Dylan is helping Santos with this case. We got a little bit of him speaking, to the girlfriend of Kylie's father. We didn't really see him. He didn't really talk. I don't think he talked to Kylie personally, did he? No, I don't believe he did. There was a little bit of conversation with Perla and Santos with Kylie, but obviously the girlfriend was there as well. Robby was there too. But we didn't get a ton with those two cases. We did see more a conversation with the social worker, and this is something that's interesting because both Dylan and Robby said this. Even Dr. Al-Hashimi pointed this out. They keep saying to Santos, "Well, we don't want you jumping to conclusions." What? Okay. The signs are all there of this poor girl being abused, and they're like, well, just, you don't want to jump to conclusions. They haven't said this to any other person but Santos. Even Dr. Hashimi is like, is there something with Santos I don't know? Because why are you saying that to her? I wonder, is it something that happened with a patient in the 10-month that we didn't see? Because the other option would be with the situation with Langdon last season, where obviously it was her first day and she's like, he's a drug addict. He's stealing drugs. And if that's the case, if we're basing it off of don't jump to conclusions because, last season, remember last year when you said that guy was a drug addict and he was? If that's what we're going off of, that's crazy. Because first of all, she was correct. They can't, if they're just going off of that, that's wild. I wouldn't, unless it's like a pattern where she's like immediately goes to like the worst case scenario, which I am also a worst case scenario girly. I get you. That is me. Fair. If that's like a repeated pattern that they're seeing in her, of like she always kind of goes to like, this is the worst thing that's happening, but I don't really see that of her. The only situation last season was with Langdon, and then Silas, the creep guy who fell off the ladder. But even in that situation, they didn't know until the mother told Santos. So that's not really jumping to conclusions, that's information being given to you. And she recognized Simon Langdon because she had worked in the pain clinic. So, but was the pain management clinic? I think I said that wrong, but you know what I mean. So, being like, don't jump to conclusions. That's so weird. They're both such weird, especially because the social worker said it too. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I don't know. That makes me very, curious about, their, Santos and how other people view her as, well, you know her. She's always gonna assume someone's a drug addict or something. That's crazy. If that's what they're going off of, that's... I don't even know where to begin with that, if that's what's happening. Because, I don't even... it's just so weird. It's so odd. I don't like that they said that, because I'm like... And then you're making her, it's gonna make her be like, if she's wrong and it's not abusing something else, and you're like, see, what do we tell you? Jump in the conclusions. Look at, good job, Santos. Now we did all that. You know what I mean? I don't think it would be, obviously it wouldn't be like that, but I would think this poor girl's being abused. Look at her. She's head to toe covered in bruises. She's got blood in her ear. This poor girl looks like she's been battered to hell and back. She's been in the ER, multiple times. The conclusion is not, you're not jumping to it. It's they're giving it to you. Hello. The one thing obviously would be her behavior. She doesn't seem they're talking to her and she's not showing any signs of someone's hurting me and things like that. But you never know. She'd be keeping that way buried. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about those comments. I am so curious. I am hoping it's because it's something we didn't see off camera, and it's not because of the whole Langdon situation, because that would be so shitty. That would be I wouldn't like that at all. But like again, I'm going off of my original point. I don't know. I just didn't like that comment. I don't like those comments, especially coming from the social worker. And he's looking at her like when she's talking about like Kylie's dad. He's like, well, like that I kind of like get maybe a little bit with Kylie's dad and be like, oh, well, he's not gonna if he even shows up. And I'm like, well, I think it'd be pretty guilty looking if he didn't show up. You know, it probably would make him look pretty bad if he didn't. So I get that for that, just that specific thing a little bit. Beyond that, no. But Dylan was looking at her like, right. And I'm like, why are you looking at me? He's trying to like, he's starting doing some math up in there. And I'm like, relax, calm it down. We also got, a little bit of Louis this episode as well, continuing from last episode. They drained his stomach. I don't know the medical terms. I believe it was his stomach. It was Whitaker and the med students, and the med students. I have to talk about the med students. I like Joy. I think Joy, I've seen people say this online as well, and I do agree, because I didn't consider that last episode, and someone pointed that out, I'm like, oh, she probably just isn't interested in emergency medicine, so she's just like, I have to do this rotation, so I gotta be here. And I'm like, you know what, fair enough. She's probably like, I don't want to do this. I want to do peds, or like, she wouldn't do peds. I don't think she'd be peds. Anything else, I don't know, like some other field, surgery, who knows. She's like, well, I have to do emergency medicine, so I gotta be here. And there's Ogilvy. Ogilvy. I don't even know where to begin with Ogilvy. Listen, I'm gonna be real. He's annoying. He's kind of irritating. I get he does seem very smart, and he seems very eager, which is good. You gotta be like excited to do this, even if your spirit's gonna get crushed eventually. So yeah, it's good that he's eager, good that he's like very smart. The way he's like going about it, girl, he's annoying. I was like, this is irritating to me. When he was like, when Whitaker was talking about like, oh, this is like the fluids thing. Listen, I don't know the exact terminology. And Robby's checking in, and he's like, yeah. And he's like, into Robby, he's like, Ogilvy's like, well, actually, Whitaker didn't mention this fact with if there's blood in the fluid and da-da-da. I was like, girl, what? I was like, who? Okay, congratulations, you knew that. That was so weird. I'm like, why? It's like we're trying to get him like in trouble, and what was the point of that? Being like, actually, he didn't know this. He didn't say it, but I know it. Just so you know, like, you don't need to be like teacher's pet of the ED. Just we gotta chill. And he's like beefing with Javati, which is, first of all, you will never beat Javati. Let's make that known. Victoria Javati is a star. Thank you very much. And you will never be her. Sure, you may be smart, but you're not her. And he's trying to beef for her to get that spot next year. And I'm like, it's not happening. Go back to I don't know what state you're from. Try again. Try somewhere else. You got 49 of the states. Try there. Not my Pitt. Maybe there's other hospitals in Pittsburgh. Try there. You're not taking Javati's spot. Javati, who is so smart. I can't change the Javati right now. I gotta stick on. I'm gonna change the subjects too much, so we're gonna draw back. We'll get to Javati in a second. Ogilvy, I think he's just going about things like so wrong. I think he really needs to like tone it down. This is not like actually. You gotta like relax. You like Robby said, like we gotta be team players. Cool that you know stuff, but that if you're gonna be like, this person's wrong actually, and they didn't mention this. Not how that works. Not gonna help you. And even when Whitaker and Ogilvy go to check on Evelyn, the patient with Alzheimer's, and she's like laying there, and she's dead from a broken heart, and Whitaker's like, no, what? Like, relax. This is not a race. You're not on the clock, like a timer. Like, you're playing Fast Money. You're gonna be like, quick, name a disease they have. Like, chill. Relax. Too eager. Good to be eager, too eager. We gotta bring it down. So right now he's irritating me. Hopefully throughout the day he will chill. Please, for my sake. I hope so. Now, another patient last episode, Sister Grace, the nun who we thought had pink eye, actually has gonorrhea. Gross. Gonorrhea in her eye. I didn't even know that could happen. That's nasty. Didn't even know that was a thing. I don't have much to say about that. I just thought I didn't know that could happen. Gross. Liam, if I ever catch your ass back in this ED, I'm gonna beat your ass from one end of the ED to the other. How dare you to tackle Mel to the well, he didn't tackle Mel, to body slam her practically to the ground off a stool because your dumbass robbed a liquor store on a bicycle and you're running from the cops. I'll kill you. Sir, I already said less of him. Like, he's giving me weird energy. Flirting with Mel, comparing her to his mom in the process. He was trying to flirt with her again today. And there was something I didn't like about the conversation, but more so on the Mel side than him. But to flirt with the emergency room doctor, when you know you're there because you ate shit off a bicycle, robbing a store, you're bonkers. I gotta get the cat out one moment. Okay, she left. So, like I'm saying, Liam, first of all, that is so embarrassing. You tried to rob a liquor store on a bicycle, and you fell off the bike. When they said that, the cop said that, I was like, that is so embarrassing. I don't even know where to begin. Like, I feel like you gotta have a better getaway vehicle than a bicycle. You gotta think of something different. Like, that's a bike, man. That can't be efficient. Clearly it didn't work either. You fell and ate shit, and now you're in the ED. And then now the cops found you there. Did they watch him? They had to have watched him fall. So he didn't make it that far from the... Or were they... Obviously, it's probably easy. I don't know. I don't know how this went down. But clearly it wasn't that good. Because they were able to track you there. You should dumb myself a bike. And they took up a foot. That's so... Like, it's so embarrassing. I literally was like, that's embarrassing. And then you're trying to flirt with the doctor. And be like, you remind me of my mom. Just go home. You gotta start the whole day over. Because you fucked up somewhere. I don't know. That was crazy. Imagine being like, I'm on the run from the cops, but I have to sit here and make sure I have time to flirt with this doctor. Your priorities are in the wrong place. She's not gonna want you now that you knocked her ass off the freaking stool she was on. Also, that makes you look way more guilty. But I guess they already know it's him because they watched him fucking eat shit off the bike and run off. Dude, this guy, what a fucking disaster. That's a goddamn mess. That is so literally embarrassing. This is literally the only word I can think of. Embarrassing, dude. That's crazy. And then poor Mel now, already having a bad day, cracked her skull against the goddamn linoleum. Thank God she wasn't. I was worried she was start bleeding. Thank God she didn't. She just hit her head. They have to get her checked out now. Make sure she doesn't have fucking brain trauma or whatever the hell. And now, she might have to testify in court against this idiot. They're just trying to be like, how can we make Mel's day worse? What can we do to poor Mel like, to put her through the ringer. And it's 9 a.m. at the end of this episode. It is too early for this. Like, this poor girl. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was crazy. That was just... I don't even know. Being that embarrassing and hurting Mel, you're an idiot. And don't ever let me catch you again. Why is this out of focus? Una momento again. Alrighty. And then our other patient from last episode, Alan Billings, who I briefly mentioned already, who had the open dislocation. They popped that shit back in. Let me tell you something. That was crazy. That Garcia put her whole back in. I didn't realize it was that hard. I guess because it's like a weird angle, because it's coming out through his armpit. So, like, McKay's pulling his arm this way, and then, like, Garcia's got the whole thing wrapped, and she's, like, foot on the bed, yanking him. She's literally, like, I thought she was gonna fall for a second. I was like, I hope she doesn't, like, eat shit and fall backwards. Surprised Mel fell backwards instead. But, literally, whole back into it. And then Mel has to, like, shove her fingers, like, whole hand under this guy's, like, bone to, like, lift it up to, like, actually get... I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Ugh. The doctor's gotta do so much, man. Like, you even throw out your whole back trying to, like, pop this guy's shoulder back in place. That's, ooh. Jesus. Like, that's great. They gotta do so much, man. And then we get something new because of Alan Billings, who we find out his insurance doesn't cover their hospital, which I didn't know that could happen. So he has to get sent into another hospital to actually get the surgery done that he needs done. And in this situation, we get to meet Nurse Hastings Noel. And this is what I mentioned earlier of some new relationships. We get a little something here with Noel and one Robby, which McKay was also picking up on. I mean, we know that something's going on there, but McKay was like, "What's happening?" Because she can immediately pick up the vibes. McKay's literally sitting between them like, "What's happening?" McKay's like, "What's going on here? What's happening?" And they're like, "What are you talking about? Everything's normal. He just has to go to a different hospital. It's just insurance." Oh, I don't think I said this. Noel's the case manager. My bad. I might have skipped that part. But McKay's picking up something, and she's picking up correctly. Seems like Robby and Noel are a little thing here. A little something's going on there. And somebody else is also picking up on it as well. Dana. Because Dana's looking at Noel like, interesting. Are you sure about that one? So everyone's like, okay. We didn't get a lot of it. We got a little something there. We're like, oh, I wonder if it'll come back up. I don't know how often she's gonna be back in the ED, but they're looking. People are seeing a little something going on. So that's something to keep an eye on for the future. We also got to see Mr. Digby. He got his cast off. This poor guy. This poor guy. They cut that cast open. I felt so bad for him. Because he was like, oh, it's getting itchy. Maggots. Ooh. I don't like bugs. That was like, thinking about that made me, oof. Though fun fact about me, one of my other favorite TV shows of all time, The Walking Dead. So I had a different assumption, probably because I've seen it 85,000 times on The Walking Dead, where they didn't know how long the cast has been on him, on his arm. They're like weeks, months, years, who knows. So my horrible thought was they're going to cut this cast open, peel it off, and his skin's coming with it. But that's probably The Walking Dead rot in my brain. Because it's happened all the time. Those are also off of dead zombies and not a real living man. So I'm glad it wasn't that. I was like very worried that the cast would have been on for so long to start to fuse with his skin. But I don't think that's actually how that works. So the maggots, not good either, but better than my assumption, which would have been so bad. And I just feel bad for this poor guy. Now, I am curious about something. So I don't think Mr. Digby had the cast put on at PTMC because they didn't have any like Dana said, we don't know how long this cast has been on. If he had gotten it put on there, I feel like they would have had the files for when it was put on. So they must have got it at a different hospital because obviously they don't have his medical records on the files of when it was put on. Do they not try to follow? I understand that he's unhoused. It may be difficult to contact him. They didn't like try to reach out to this patient like, hey, this guy never came back in to get his cast taken off. Should we make sure he comes to get the cast taken off? Like, I get maybe you can't contact him directly. Maybe they know he's unhoused. Maybe try to reach out to like shelters in the area or like other hospitals. Be like, hey, we're trying to figure out information about this patient that we have to see if he came in to get a cast taken off. And PTMC, they have the street team who goes out to give treatments and medication to unhoused people in the community. I don't know much about the medical. Is that a common thing? Would other hospitals have that? Because the hospital where he got the cast on had the street team. They didn't try to reach out to him that way and be like, hey, maybe we should come in to get the cast taken off. They just let this man go who knows how long with a cast on his arm, which I don't think is good for like your arm to have a cast on for that long because you're not. I mean, it's like his area right here, so maybe it's not as bad as like a more bendable like joint. But doesn't it like make your muscles weaker because you're not using them because they're in the so and then it's there for so long, like the maggot, they're literally like eating his arm. I think that I don't know much about maggots, but like it's not gonna have a bunch of maggots living in your skin, breathing in your like that's so like that's not humane. It's so gross. Like this poor man. What was the other hospital doing? Nobody tried to reach out to like at least try. You know he's in the air. You know what he looks like. You couldn't make an attempt. I hope they did, and maybe they didn't try hard. I just feel bad. Like this poor man had to walk around for who knows how long with a cast of maggots, like eating his skin. That's so gross. Nobody deserves to have that. That is just, I can't even like imagine that. I don't even want to imagine that. I hate bugs so much. Like my skin is like crawling thinking about it. Like I can't even imagine that. I really hope that. I think this is why maybe more hospitals, if they don't have these, should implement the street teams, because that man could have had that cast off who knows how long ago and would not have had to deal with that. That just skews me out. This poor guy, I feel so bad for him. And then Nurse Emma, who is just going through the ringer in this episode, she's just like, Dana's like, hey, you're gonna do this new thing. Why don't you come see this? Why don't we come do this? You're gonna come learn this thing. And then she's like about to vomit because she was like, like, oh, Emma, girl. Listen, welcome in. Have fun. And then she has that guy later. That one was, we'll get to that. Gross. I think that was our last returning patient, correct? I'm checking my notes because I have the memory of a goldfish. I think that may have been the last returning. Yeah, we got a couple new patients this episode. Well, some really quickly. We got, the woman who super glued her eyes shut trying to put on eyelashes. That's why we don't use super glue for your face. I don't that sucks, man. She did mention a Dr. J, which I would assume would be Giovanni. I mean, Giovanni, she works triage. She knows. So. It's interesting that Langdon was like, we don't have a Dr. J here. I'm like, you can't think for like a second that she probably means Giovanni. Who else is? I guess technically Javadi's not like a doctor yet. Langdon calls her Dr. Javadi, and she's like, "No, I'm not a doctor yet." So why would he assume that was her? That's who I assumed she meant, because that's the only person we know that has a J last name. I would assume she means Javadi. Because if she knows who Javadi is, maybe she's already been there. She wouldn't have records like, "Oh, Javadi treated you last time" or something. She knew she worked there. But I was like, that's so weird. You don't realize that's Javadi? I get you're coming back for 2 months, but you know Javadi. She was there last time. I don't even know what. Sure, Langdon. Okay. And then who else did we get? Oh yeah, in the triage area as well. Clint Hansen, who had his cousin pouring baking grease on his arm. First of all, don't ever do that. Not the arm, but don't pour baking grease in a sink. Nah, he did that. He's correct. It will wreck your plumbing. Second of all, they were just really like, it was very funny. Every time they had to walk away from him, you just see them go. Because they're like, "We gotta get back for breakfast." And every time, like, Langdon and Donnie had to walk away, they're just like, you see them both just going like, "What the hell?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, your baking grease burn is not as important as, like, this guy who's unresponsive. Like, other conditions, like, you'll be fine." I mean, it's not good either, obviously, but tone it down. Also, they're apparently related to racing people. I don't know racers, so I don't know if those are real racers. Was it Ricky and Jimmy Hansen, Langdon said? I don't know if that's even relevant. Who the hell knows? But I'll just mention that just in case. Who knows? And then we also coming in through triage was Orlando Diaz, who was coming in with, I have to figure out how to pronounce this word again, diabetic ketoacidosis. Sure, diabetic ketoacidosis. His sugar was like 500, which is crazy. They're like, probably, I think what they say, he wasn't probably taking his insulin, which isn't, unfortunately, like a more common thing, because insulin is like $9 billion to get, because this country hates people. And they're like, the medication that keeps you alive, $30,000. You want to stay alive? Give it to me. The people who can't afford to get the insulin that they need to, be alive, have to ration it out, so they can't take it as they're supposed to. So then now, look at that. They can't take it. Their sugar goes nuts. And then they all, once again, almost die. Because they don't have their life-saving medication that they need. And honestly, rationing it is even a luckier situation than the case of some people who just can't afford it at all and are just slowly dying because they can't get insulin. Because this country is a nightmare. Our healthcare system is it's just so great. It's just so fun. Oh my god. I feel bad. But that is so, unfortunately, very, very common. This is also where we got to see the beefing between Javadi and Ogilvy, who are like kind of like one up each other, like yeah, you know this, well, I also know this, and actually according to this study there's and then Dr. Moen and Rob are just like, what is happening? The shot where it pans to Moen and she's at like she's like looking at Javadi like they're just like, what is happening? Why are we not? Can we chill? This isn't not America's Next Top Doctor. There's a man dying. There's a man in suffering here. We need to treat this man, please. Tone it down. This is not actually the Dropout TV show. You're not getting points for this. Tone it down. Tone it down. There's no prize besides saving a life. I thought it was so funny. Because like I said before, Ogilvy, you'll never be Javadi. You'll never be her. But Now, I don't even want to talk about the... Ian Randall. I wish I could unsee this. Sometimes I forget. The Pitt loves to be like, look at this thing that you don't want to see. Here's so many shots of it. And I'm like, I don't... It was like last season when we had to watch that woman give birth for all of episode 11. Let me tell you something. That was a jump scare. Let me tell you. And this episode also, jump scare. Ian Randall, who took 2 erectile dysfunction shots and has an 8-hour boner, and now I really wish I didn't know how they treated that. I would have liked to live in bliss and ignorance. I don't... That was gross. That was... I didn't like that. I was like, this is so much. This is more than I needed to know or see. I didn't need to see the needles going in and spraying in the blood. I didn't like it. They were like, just use a syringe and take out whatever comes out. I'm like, what does that mean, whatever comes out? Is it not blood? What do you mean, whatever? Is it going to be something else? No, thank you. That, I was like, when we got to, I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, let me go back to it. I'm like, let's see something else, please. Anything else? I don't want to focus on this anymore. I'm like, how can I unsee this? I wish I could unsee this. So bad. Oh my god. At least this scene, we got, Dr. Al-Hashimi actually trying to, like, talk to Mel and kind of comfort her a little more, where she's talking about, like, oh, yeah, I know other people who've been sued, and, you're very, like, thorough with your... By the way, she wants to do AI charting, but she tells Mel in the scene, oh, you're the facts, you're very thorough with your notes, and you're very thorough with, like, your process of, like, I forget the exact word she said, but, like, she says Mel's, like, very thorough with, like, this is the processes I did to do the treatments, and this is decisions I made, like, in her notes. In her charting. She's very good at the notes in her charting. The charting that you want them to stop doing. That's interesting. Very, very interesting. Will the AI bot be as thorough as Mel? Will it? We'll find out, huh? She did that. I was like, really? That's interesting. That's so interesting. That is so funny that you say that. Like, literally, ma'am, you can't get it all. I don't know what to tell you. That was just very interesting that she said that. And I was like, interesting. You're praising Mel for the thoroughness of her charting and her notes and her putting down her thought processes, but the AI is going to take it for her. That's all I'll say about that. Yeah. Oh my god. I don't even know. We also got a new patient coming in very end of the episode, so we only saw him for like a few seconds. The college student that seemed very agitated in the ambulance, who they said flipped out in the library, got tased in the neck by campus security and didn't phase him. They gave him 5 of midazolam. I don't know, medical medication, which is like a sedation med. I had to Google it. And he kept saying 2901. He seemed very upset, very agitated. We didn't really. I mean, obviously, it was like the very end of the episode, so we didn't get anything wrong. Obviously, we're gonna get more next episode. But, like, they didn't have, like, a reason to, like, just, like, he flipped out. And I'm like, why? Do you, like, know why? Did something happen? Is he, like, having, like, a mental illness related, like, episode? Was he, like, in an argument with somebody? Did something happen? Nothing. They didn't get, like, no information. So, I am curious to see what's going on with him. What's going on there? It kind of reminded me a little bit of from last season, Joyce, the patient who had sickle cell disease that came in with a sickle cell crisis, who the EMT treated her as though she was like a drug she was like, oh, she's drug sick, and they're like aggressively like holding her down. This time, I mean, they weren't holding down this patient, had him restrained with like the soft restraints they're called, you know, the foam, the ones that like are soft. They're not like cuffs obviously, but they're like the soft restraints, I guess, around his like hands and ankles, wrists and ankles together. But it kind of gave an energy where they're like making, and like this person, I mean, he seems very agitated, like really wants to get out. I don't know what 2901 means. He kept saying 2901, 2901. He's like, get off me, don't touch me, let me out of here. Like he did not want to be there. So I wonder what actually happened to make, like, he didn't seem like he's in. I mean, they tased him in the neck, so they might be checking him out for that. I'm sure that's not great. I just want to know more. It does remind me a lot of the Joyce situation, where the EMTs just made, like, you know, their own bias. They're like, oh, this woman screaming on the bus, acting, oh, she's crazy, she must be looking for drugs, she's in withdrawal. And, like, mind you, Joyce was the one that called 911. She was the one that's in pain and wants to be treated for her medical condition that she has. So I am very curious about this college student and what was the trigger that caused this situation. Because he doesn't seem like, he seems like fired up, but he seems more like confused, like, get off of me, like, let me out of here, like, why am I here, why did you take me away in an ambulance? So I'm very curious about that, like, what said he flipped out in the library, because of why? Do we have any information on that? Can we get a little something? Hopefully we'll get more next episode, obviously, because he came in literally right before the credits started rolling, so we didn't get much from him. But I'm very curious to see more on that situation and what exactly is going on there. Now, I haven't spoken much on some of the doctors episode. I want to touch on one of my favorite things of the episode, the reconnecting friendship of Mel and Langdon, who, thank God, they both need a friend so bad. Everybody else is kind of starting the day. It's like, oh, it's a normal day for, like, Mel and Langdon are both coming in, like, as it's like, not, I guess not really like a bad day, but like not a great day, you know. They're not coming in like, oh boy, another day at work. They're both coming in like pretty down for different reasons, obviously. You know, Mel, you know, it's her deposition day, she's been very off like her game, like, very distracted. You can see she seems a bit like, I guess isolated would be the best word from the other staff. Like, she doesn't seem like she has like the friendship, like, bond that some of them have. She's friendly with them, but they're not like, Mel, you're my, like, good friend. Like, oh, like, Santos checks in with her, but kind of in like, oh, okay, what's going on? Not like in a, you're my friend and I, like, care about you. More like a, hey, I noticed this is off about you and I'm curious, like. And now she's like, has the extra pressure of having to go to court because Liam, the dipshit, tackled her and she had to treat him. So like already having it coming on off day. Langdon, obviously, first day back after being out for 10 months for rehab and recovery from his drug addiction. I obviously personally, well, not obviously, but I don't know much personally in terms of struggling with addiction. I have myself, I mean, there are people I know who have. I have myself have not, so I don't know the personal effects. But what I do have and probably will always struggle with anxiety. So I may not understand the, what he went through in terms of like, his addiction, rehab, recovery in that aspect, but I understand I'm sure, anxiety he's very clearly showing. Obviously, he knows the ED, he knows everybody there, but now he's coming in 10 months out and he has no idea what the reaction is going to be. Like, I assume based on his reactions, like, he seems very, like, cautious to kind of approach people. He talks with, Whitaker and Javati a little bit, and they're both like, that was really weird and awkward. And he's kind of standing there like, hey, like, his body language is very, like, arms crossed, like, okay. Like, obviously, he's coming back. He doesn't know, like, does everybody know I was a drug addict? Does everybody, like, know, like, what are they thinking? Are they, like, looking down on me? Obviously, because he was not just, an addict struggling with addiction. He was stealing from patients in the hospital, so there's additional judgment on that of, like, are people going to look at me sideways? Or maybe, like, they let him back in? Are the people going to be upset that I'm back now? Or do people think I should have been fired? Are my friends, who I really, treasured, the connections I had, are they still going to be the same? There's obviously something that's going to be a little different now because people are now know this thing about me that I was hiding so well. How are people going to look at me? Are people going to judge me? Am I even going to be, welcome back? Like, obviously I have my job back, but am I going to be welcomed in by the people there? Is it, like, has word spread? Like, you don't know what you're walking into, and I understand the anxiety of, like, what, like, all the what ifs and the fear of the perception of other people and how that would affect your day-to-day. Because it's not like a job where you're like, oh, I'm going to show up for, like, 5 hours for my, like, whatever my shift, and I'm going home. Like, this is, you're at this job. This job is your existence. Like, you are in this job. You are with these people 12 hours. You are literally in the pit with these people. So you gotta, like, that bond, even though they may not be friends, some people, they may just be, coworkers, but you have to have, like, a level of trust in somebody's, knowledge, experience, their ability to treat people, treat patients. And Lane coming in after, being out with his addiction, I understand, like, he probably is, like, he's visibly seems very, like, nervous, very anxious. He was, like, kind of sitting in the episode 1 we saw, like, when he was sitting there, like, having to go back, and he's kind of looking around, like, you don't know what welcome you're going to get. And I understand, like, how are people going to trust me again? Are people going to look at me different? Obviously, probably are. And people are avoiding him. As we saw, Langdon's avoiding him. Santos is definitely avoiding him. She won't even, like, they see each other in the both, they're like, they won't even, like, look. They're just like, oh God, that's a conversation I don't want to have yet. And Langdon is doing good. He is having conversations with people about, like, what happened. He spoke with Louis and apologized. This episode he spoke to Mel and explained what happened and opened up and, like, apologized to her as well, which I think is very good. That's why I am really enjoying their relationship coming back in, because I liked their bond in season 1 over the day that they were there. Obviously it was Mel's first day, but I liked how they worked together. I liked the little friendship they seemed to be forming, the connection, and I like it's back up. And Mel, I think, oh my God, it was so good when Langdon, sees Mel after she got tackled to the ground. I keep saying tackled when she was knocked to the ground. It's probably the better word. Tackled is like, you know what I mean. And he's like checking. He's like, oh, you gotta get checked out. And he starts making, like, the jokes with her, like, oh, you gotta get prep for a burr hole. And she's like, what? And he, like, sits there for a second because he remembered this from last time they worked together. The one shift they worked together, she wasn't picking up on his jokes. So it's like he like waited for her to catch on, oh, this is a joke. And then she references like Captain Scurvy, like the jokes last season. And Dana's like, what? Dana Pearl like, what? And he's like, it's an inside thing. And I'm like, I'm just happy they both seem to be having a friend. I'm like, that's what they need. They both just need somebody. No judgment, just a friend. They need a friend so bad. I'm glad that their friendship is reforming. And even when Mel is sitting, in the treatment room, in the patient room, like recovering, and Langdon's talking to her there, and he like, do you know like why I was gone? She's like, oh, well, I heard rumors, but I don't want to believe, she doesn't want to go off rumors, because she's like, oh, I know him from the shift. Obviously, she like knew him for a day, but her perception of him, and he's like, well, this is what happened. I was, I was an addict. I don't know if he mentioned that he was stealing from the hospital. He didn't. He just mentioned that, he was an addict. He struggled with addiction. He went to rehab and was in recovery. And he's like, I let everybody down. I broke everybody's trust. I was all these things. And she's like, you didn't let me down. And I was like, oh. I loved just like no judgment. Like she didn't know for sure, but she like. Her rumors, I don't know if that's the rumor she heard. I'm assuming it was, because she's like, oh, when he was like, I'm an addict, and she's like, oh, okay. She's like, oh, I love that it was, because he clearly was afraid of the judgment, of the reactions of people who he's talking with, of like, this is what's happening with my life, and I want to be open about it and apologize. And she's like, well, you didn't let me down. Like, because addiction is not like, people look down on, addiction is so stigmatized. Like, people don't, it's not like, oh, it's not like a fun thing. People are like, oh, what I'm going to do today? I'm going to be addicted to drugs. It's something people struggle with every single day. It, like, destroys people and their lives and their families. It's a disease, and, like, it's very hard. It's not just drugs. Obviously, you can be addicted to anything. People are addicted to alcohol, to shopping, to food, to gambling, to anything. People are addicted to stuff. People just keep hoarders. People keep stuff. You can be addicted to anything. It's very hard. Everybody's brains are wired differently. So some people, to you, I'm like, oh, to some people who don't get it, it's like the judgment of people on addicts of like, well, maybe they shouldn't be on drugs. It's like, you don't know what people are going through. Some people are addicts because some people have very horrible, like, traumatic pasts, struggling very hard mental illnesses, and they have found, not good coping mechanisms through different addictions. Or people who, they weren't addicts, like Langdon, they had injuries. They were on medication to treat the illness they had, or the injury they had, and they became hooked to the drugs that way. And that's, how were they supposed to control that? Langdon hurt his back, he said. That's what he said in season 1. I hurt my back. I was on the medication. And that's what it went from there. So to judge people, to be like, well, they're on drugs. And I'm like, okay. People are struggling with things. It's not something like, oh, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to take drugs today. It's not easy to just be like, oh, you're right. I'm not going to do it. Recovery is so hard and so complex, and people can take, it's a lifelong struggle. You can be in recovery, people can relapse, people can go back and recover again. Some people can recover and be sober for 25 years. Some people, it may take them a few tries. They may be sober for a year and relapse, and then they're starting over again, and they make it a few years or a few months, and they're back again, but they're trying. And it's hard. It's not easy. And being judgmental and looking down on people is not going to make it any easier, any better. So I'm very glad that Mel was just like, oh, okay. She wasn't like, oh, really? Same with Louis. Louis was like, oh. He was more like, oh, you stole my drugs? He's like, and even then he was like, that's okay. I didn't like taking them anyways. Like, there was no judgment. Obviously, Louis also struggles with addiction as well, with alcoholism. So he had a more, he could understand Langdon to that extent. Mel, obviously, well, at least as we're aware of, does not. But she still has empathy. She's she seems like a very empathetic person. She is very open and understanding, and she's like, okay. She's not going to be like, really? You were on drugs? Like, maybe she sees him in a differently, but she's not judging him. She's like, this is something now I know about you, like a struggle that you have. It's not easy to tell somebody, obviously, I am addicted. And then people, like, last season, Langdon couldn't even accept that he was an addict. He's like, I'm not a drug addict. But he's like, I'm not a drug addict. What? No. It's very hard for people to get even to that step to admit, yes, I am a drug addict. I am addicted to this, whatever it may be. It's not easy to get there. And to even get as far to be like, I am going to be open to you. I trust you enough to tell you this and apologize to you and be like, oh, I shouldn't have let you down. I did this. It shows a level of trust and care that Langdon has for Mel. Like, I care about you enough to tell you about this situation, the struggle that I have. And I think that speaks a lot to their connection, because they literally owned each other for a single day. They literally met that one day, and that was it. And that's why I am just so fascinated with their connection, because it's not like Dana and Langdon or Robby and Langdon. They're making like doctors she's worked with for an extensive amount of time. Mel and Langdon knew each other for literally a single day. And I am glad that they have this connection, because God, do they need it. To have somebody have your back when you're struggling is so important. And I think that even if, they don't need to sit down and have, like, obviously they don't have really time to fully sit down and have this, like, full heart-to-heart conversation in the middle of the emergency room. Even in this conversation, they're interrupted by the police coming in to talk about Liam. Just to have the moments of checking in with each other, like, hey, how are you doing with this recovery? How are you doing with, like, he doesn't know about, I don't believe he knows about her deposition. I'm hoping since he was able to share with her, she'll be able to share with him later on, open up to him about it, because she's been kind of, like, talking, like, wanting to talk about it, like, her feelings on it, but she hasn't really had, like, a full like, she has had people, like, trying to comfort her, but she hasn't really been able to be like, how are you, like, openly talk about, like, to a full, like, as Langdon did, like, open up a little bit more. Though, hoping that she does. I think Langdon would be a good person to talk to. I don't know if he's ever been sued, but they're more equal. I mean, he's repeating his senior residency because he missed a whole year, and I believe Mel's in R3 now, so they're more on equal footing in terms of their careers. I believe he's still above her, but not by much. So I think this is a good connection, and I really hope we get a little more of it. And oh my god, I love this. I love this part so much. When the cops come in, they're talking to Mel about Liam, and they tell her, "Oh, you may have to testify in court because you treated him, about, like, the injuries that he had, the treatments that you did, all this." And you could tell she is visibly very uncomfortable, because they don't explicitly say this in the show, but Taylor Dearden has spoken about this multiple times, about how Mel is on the spectrum. And it's something that I saw pointed out, where, like, people who have multiple children on the spectrum, and some are, what's the word, more severe? I don't think is the right word. But I guess more noticeable, like Mel's sister, Becca, it's much, her symptoms are harder for her to function more in day-to-day life. So it's possible that nobody even noticed that Mel is even on the spectrum. She may not even really recognize the signs in herself. And so she reacts, obviously. She goes through life very differently. And she has a very visible, like reaction. Like, she's very visibly, like, uncomfortable in a way she can't hide. Like, she's very, like She's kind of like closing in on herself. She's rubbing her arms. She is clearly very physically like I'm uncomfortable, and I don't know how I have like she just can't. She's just very visibly uncomfortable and like nervous, distressed. And Langdon's like, okay. I love Langdon in this scene. He gets the cops out of there. He leaves, but he does what Mel did for, I believe, Terrence last season, the man who came in with autism, who had the ankle injury, the ping pong player. He turns the lights off. He says, pretty much verbatim what she said, the emergency department can be a noisy and overwhelming place. And he closes the door to block out the noise, to give her a dark, quiet place to relax, to desensitize. She's like very clearly like overstimulated, overwhelmed. Just a place for her to breathe, take a breath, 10 minutes to just cool down. And I loved it. I was like giddy. I was like, oh my god. Because last season Langdon was like, what is his autism have to do with anything? His ankle hurts. He hurt his ankle. To now, where he's recognizing signs, he seems to be recognizing signs in Mel of this. I'm hoping. I don't know if that's exactly what's going on, but he seems to have picked up, because that's what, obviously. And to not only recognize it, but realize like this will help her, and not to be like, well, she hurt her head, might have changed the lights off, she bonked her head on the floor, the noise doesn't even do anything. I loved it. I loved it. I'm eating it up. I'm literally like yes. Oh, this is great. We're already getting like growth. I love character growth. Interesting characters. I love this. They're both so fascinating to me. Langdon is such an interesting character to me. He is so, because obviously last season he was, ER Ken, as they called him. He was the hot shot. And now he's humbled in a way. That's like how other people probably would describe him. Like in the like, well, yeah, he's got to be like toned down now because he's not on drugs anymore. Like, his character is so fascinating because he's more reserved. He's like, it's like he's afraid to open up to other people because of the judgment that he's probably afraid. He knows people probably judging him, looking at him differently than they did. They're just both so fascinating, and I hope we get more. I'm so excited. We just in episode 2, and I'm already like, what is it, like rubbing my hands together like a little like flea, a little whatever it is, like the little butt, like, yes, give me more. I love seeing the relationships with the doctors and their connections to each other, and they're both just, Mel and Langdon are such fascinating characters, and I want more. Oh, it was buzzy. I was like, I'm like, this is so exciting. I really just like their connections so much. I hope we get more, because they both truly, they need a friend so bad. They just need somebody, please. I'm like, these poor people, just give them somebody to talk to, please. So I'm like so happy that they have at least somebody, one person. That just makes me feel so much better. My goodness, I really went off there, and I don't even remember what I was gonna do next. What have I not discussed? I'm checking my notes again because I feel like I've talked about it a lot, but I know there's more. I had a lot to say about this episode. Oh yes, one thing I want to mention: Evelyn, the patient with Alzheimer's. I've said this many times. I don't have experience with working in an emergency medicine. How do they typically handle breaking like hard news to patients with dementia and Alzheimer's? Because I don't know if this was the best way to do it. Whitaker had to tell this poor woman literally 3 times in the same hour that her husband died because she would forget. I don't know if that's the way you're supposed to just keep telling them, she's gonna keep forgetting, but it just seems very like cruel to her, cruel to Whitaker to have to just keep having to rehash to this poor woman, like, your husband is dead. Having to see her go through the stages of grief all over again, and she's gonna forget, she's gonna have to do this again. Like, it just seems so terrible. And this poor woman who has to keep, obviously she doesn't remember, but just keep reliving her husband dying over and over and over again. Is there like a different way to do that? Is that the best way that they do it? There's like, just keep telling her. There's I don't know if that's the best way to handle it. I feel like, is there like a different way? Like, is she, I don't know. I don't know much about people who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia. I don't know what the best, I'm very fortunate that I don't really know anybody who has suffered with that condition, with that illness. So I don't know how you would approach this. Do you have to keep, because it's not going to be like just today. It's going to be however long for the rest of her life. Unless what, she unfortunately would forget her husband. I don't think that would that happen. I mean, it may. People do forget their loved ones, who I know that with Alzheimer's. So I don't know. How do you handle this? Is she going to keep asking for Ethan, excuse me. If you keep bringing him up, is that making her remember him? Will she forget about him if you just don't mention him? How do you handle this? I am very curious about this. It's not even like something I have to say. It's more like a question that I have. Like, how do you handle this? Because it just doesn't seem like having to keep telling Evelyn your husband is dead over and over. It just seems so like draining. So like cruel. Like I don't know if that's the best way to do it. Just keep telling her over and over again, your husband is dead. Your husband is dead. He's dead. Just taking her to see the body, and she's like, okay, time to go. Wake up. Like that's terrible. I don't know. Like that, I don't know like what the best way to go about that would be. I feel like it wouldn't be that, would it? I feel bad for poor Whitaker. He has to deal with like, he has to tell this poor woman over and over again, your husband is dying, and he literally just sitting in the chair like the third time, just like I have to count, like how, he was like, how long am I gonna have to keep doing this? Like that's just so terrible. Oh my goodness. I don't know what the best way to go about that would be, and I would love to know. If you know, let me know below. I think beyond that, is that kind of all I had to say? I feel like I've talked about a lot. We had a little bit, with Javadi, Whitaker, and Santos when they were talking about, Javadi, yes, I might have mentioned that as well. Javadi trying to double board as well, apparently, surgery and emergency medicine, and it seems like she ultimately chose emergency medicine, which is probably why the conflict with her mother is a little worse, which is unfortunate, but what are you gonna do? I think Javadi needs to make her own decisions, and her mother needs to get over it. Hope that helps. She has to live her own life. Not yours, ma'am. How a bummer. Leave people alone. Like, she gotta live her own life. She can't live your life, or the life that you want for her, like, not how that works. Your children are people. They are not your little doll. They're like, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna do this because I want you to. Not how that works. Sorry. I'm like checking my notes. I think I've kind of covered everything that I wanted to say. Yeah, pretty much. I think that's everything I kind of got. I am looking forward to the eventual conversation between Langdon and Robby, and Langdon and Santos, because that is going to be very interesting, because they are avoiding each other hard. I mean, Langdon did try to talk to Robby, but he is avoiding Santos. I know he's like, he's dreading that combo, and she does not want to talk to him. So I am very interested to see how that goes. I'm very interested to see what's going on with the college boy that was just brought in. I'm very curious to see how this day is going to go to shit, It's only 9 a.m. now that the second hour is over. I actually genuinely forgot that it was the 4th of July, this episode. I was like, oh, that's right. That's right. It's the 4th of July. So, this is literally the calm before the storm. Shit is gonna hit the fan. I'm sure. So, I'm sure we got some shit coming. What else? I hope we get more of McKay. We didn't get a lot of McKay this episode. We got like a little bit with her patient, Mr. Williams, who I also forgot to mention. He's just going for like a CT. They're giving him a CT scan. That's kind of all we got. Because like there wasn't. I would like more McKay. A little more Mohan as well. We didn't get a lot of her as well. So definitely more of them too. Would love to see. But beyond that, that's kind of all I got. I am looking forward to how things are gonna go wrong today. Because these people do the ringer. The 4th of July, I'm sure they're gonna get someone with fireworks in their face, hands blown off, burns, oh god, grilled tongs in their who knows with this show. But I'm very excited to see it all. That's all I got for today. Let me know what your thoughts in the episode below. How do you feel about the Langdon and Mel friendship? How do you feel about what's going on with Dr. Al-Hashimi's way versus Dr. Robby's way? What do you think? Will they ever compromise? Will Robby ever read that packet? Will they ever get along professionally? And not get along is the wrong word. Work together. Well, they don't need to work together. You know what I mean? I can't speak today. My goodness. But yeah, let me know all your thoughts below. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for listening to me rant and rave for God knows how long. Probably like an hour and a half at this point. If you want to hear more, I will be back Friday for episode 3 of The Pit, back on schedule. Also later tonight, we'll be having our video covering the Traitors US season 4, episodes 4 and 5 that came out on Thursday as well. So we'll be talking about that later. If you want to subscribe, I forget where it is, you can. If you want to go nuts. If you want to leave a comment, sure. If you want to tell me about the medical field and how I know nothing, go nuts. If you want to be like, you're stupid, maybe don't. But you have free will, unfortunately. Fortunately. But yeah, that is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we in the pit. And I'll see y'all back in the pit very soon. Alright, bye!